Uh, Clover Quinn, Wild Rose Emu Ranch. For every business, is it that the sky's the limit? How do you know when your business is the right size? We have an emu ranch. We like our hands-on status. I fear getting too big and losing touch with all the aspects I love most: customers, tours, birds, etc. Our core competency is the uniqueness of our birds. So how do you know when your business is the right size?
I'll try to answer that. I mean, that's a question that I talk to entrepreneurs about early on. When I, for example, met this young lady, she was in a consulting type of business with her husband. And one of my first questions to her was exactly that. Are you interested in just continuing to be a mom and pop type business, which can make a very good living for herself and a handful of employees? Or are you interested in going the direction of a high-tech Silicon Valley or Chicago version of that, where you basically build or try to build a very big corporation and have an equity participation in it and then sell the company downstream or go IPO downstream? And that's a serious question. She spent quite a bit of time at it and decided that she really wanted to go for the gusto and build a much bigger company. But she's still struggling with that. In this round, she's giving up some equity for the very first time in the history of our company, and she's really concerned. So all of a sudden, she's going from 100% ownership to 60% ownership. So she's still retaining the majority, but it's a big come down from the 100%. So it's an internal and personal decision that you end up making for yourself of what kind of thing you really want to accomplish. Now, in her case, she had the opportunity to grow to a larger company. Some cases, you don't have that opportunity, so the decision is easier.
I would just add to that, it's very personal, and that becomes a thing of, what do you want? What's your goal? It sounds like maybe right now it's very comfortable, and if it's employing the family, providing an income, it's not something that can scale anyway, maybe. I don't know anything about it. Maybe it's just right. But, it's really how much, some people, they get overloaded, and then then that doesn't work either. You can't, you become unhappy. So, very personal thing.
You really have to look inside yourself to see, you have to look inside yourself to see what you're happy with, and you have to give up a lot of control if you expand, and not only financially but personally, and a lot of people don't like to do that. They want to keep their hands in there, make every decision, and if you grow, you have to delegate a lot, and you have to be ready to accept that if you're going to grow. So it's a real tough decision to make.
Jason Baker, Short Sales Sync out of Corvallis. We are nearly done with version 2.0, which quadrupled features and automated the software. Now that we're ready to sell it and we want to bootstrap, exclamation point, what is the best way to attract CEO, CFO talent when money isn't really coming in yet? Currently we have 2 engineers, programmers, and myself, and we aren't CEO material. The core competency is loss mitigation software, short sale and loan modification software.
What kind of software?
This is
Loss mitigation software for securities?
These are for people that are, their mortgages are underwater, short sales.
Short sales I thought we were talking about
in residential.
Residential. Okay, let me take a quick crack, again, without knowing the business specifically. First of all, I think it's, whoever you are, I think it's great to recognize you may not be CEO material. And if you have a product that is worth something, and give you the benefit of the doubt on that, okay, find somebody in your industry who understands what the hell you're doing, who could be a CEO, who believes in it as strongly as you do, and would make and could help you make this product get utilized in whatever market it's going to get utilized.
So another way of saying the same thing is that, going back to Carrie and Comply, now with her we weren't sure whether she was CEO material. I'm believing that she is, by the way. But she networks heavily in the industry conferences and shows, And so when she's looking for a senior person, like she was looking for a chief operating officer, second in command, that's where she networks, just similar to what Joe said. And she also networks very heavily in retired executives in and around the Chicago area, because many cases they're bored and they'd like to get their feet back into the water a bit. And they're actually, she hired hired is a strange word because she doesn't pay the person anything, but a CFO that way. And the CFO was, in charge of her financials and her books. And he's a retired executive who had been a comptroller, I believe, of one of the companies, I forget the name, but it was Sunbeam. He's a comptroller of Sunbeam. So he's a significant guy, could clearly handle the job, and he was just bored. And he really liked Carrie and what she was doing, so he offered his time for free. And that's not uncommon. So I would look towards that as well.
In your opinion, what makes somebody CEO material?
Yo, wow, Tim, I have to talk to you later on that one, Timmy. All right. Tim's question is, what makes a CEO material? Wow. That's a really good one, because remember the venture capital comment that was made by, I believe, Joe, that said they look at 1,000 deals to do one deal? Well, that's the number one person they're looking at is the CEO, or the person that's going to play that role in the company. And I was totally untested person, so I'll go back to my own background, the only way I can answer it. I was untested, I had no management jobs, and so my most significant title had been project manager, which wasn't even a title, that was just a statement inside of a corporation known as Intel. But I had managed and hired a wonderful group of engineers who turned out to be inside of Intel. Intel ranks their people 1 through N. And my engineers were number 1, number 3, number 5, number 7. They were high up in the rankings. And so when it came time to supporting me as CEO, the venture capitalist looked at a couple of things. They say he has a very good ability to be creative and innovative. He can hire really good engineers because we were doing a project that required engineers. They follow him and do good projects, so he's got that aspect under control. He seems to be pretty good at presenting, so he can go out and present and handle the sales and marketing early in the stage of the company. So we'll give him a chance. I honestly think they didn't think I would last more than a year, to be quite honest with you. And I think in the process of the years that I was in the company, I once asked one of the senior board members, so how many times were you guys talking about terminating me? I thought the answer would be nothing. But it came back, he said, at least a dozen times, And I said, a dozen times? I can't, wow, that's amazing. So, they have incredibly high standards, but they don't make a decision forever and ever. So they just thought, well, okay, we'll allow this guy to run early on, because what's the risk? He's doing what is good. He knows how to manage engineers. He knows how to come up with product ideas. We have no risk there. If he can't do the next stage, which was sales and marketing, we'll get rid of him. And as it turns out, I did the next stage, and then the next stage, and then the next stage. But they look to see that you have a couple of Trump suits, that you can handle. If you've had two of the Trump suits, like you're a really good leader, you're innovative, and you have engineering, that would be enough, certainly for the early stages.
I'm going to say something in deference to the two guys on my left, who have both been CEOs. I've never been a CEO, and that was intentional. I didn't think I had what it took to be a CEO. I thought I was best suited to do what I did. So I've been fortunate to work for some of the greatest CEOs of all time. They are definitely leaders. They are definitely, as a general rule, in a startup or a new business, a high growth business, they're visionaries. They know how to hire good people and inspire people, okay? They're usually not from a background like I have. They usually have a technical background or a sales and marketing background, okay? Again, certainly I'm more biased towards the technology industries from where I work. So, you know, there are these unique qualities. They're ultimate salesmen, no matter what their underlying skill set is. They have to be able to sell their vision to everybody, the customers and the employees. They don't get anybody to follow, you know? And it is a unique thing to watch when you see the really good ones do it. Not everybody can do it.
They just took a big survey in Silicon Valley of job preferences, and the one job that was the most undesirable was CEO. Eric Morse, I will implement an efficiency tool in restaurants. The tool is a digitized, multi-touch interactive table that allows users to manipulate digital content. This will eliminate the need for servers by empowering the customer as the food orderer. Menu, alterations, ordering, payment, plus more will be controlled by the customer through use of the table. Competency is empowering the customer, reducing human capital costs to the restaurant, and minimizing the inefficiencies and errors by filling a niche in the direct path of the industry in an untapped market. Value equation, huge cost decrease to the restaurant.
So if I had that person in front of me, which I do somewhere, the word huge always sort of makes my antenna go flying around. I always like people to specify very precisely in dollars what the value proposition is. So my entrepreneurs learn very quickly that I want them to come back with a number and say, you know, for this class of a corporation or this class of a restaurant, the value proposition will be, you know, course savings of $200 a month, you know, and $2,400 during the year. For this class of a restaurant, it'll be, you know, $100 and so on and so forth. It's very, very precise. If you have that very, very precise, then you're offering a service that helps them capture that value, and it's clear to the customer, then you may have something. But use of terms like huge suggests to me hand-waving, and hand-waving suggests to me problem. So pin it down very, very precisely.
May I respond? In my defense, 3 lines wasn't enough to quantify it, but yeah, that's definitely part of the plan, and we have a lot of numbers in the background, so huge was the one word that summed it up.
Yeah, and one of the first things I did with Carrie, because she waved her hands around at me as well, by the way, was, I think she used huge too. I said, nothing's huge. I want you to go out and come back with precise numbers. If you don't come back with precise numbers and reasonings, then you have no business. She spent quite a bit of time to do that, but look what happened, the good thing that happened. In doing that, the customer themselves realized what a strong value proposition was going on. She realized, along with me, that her pricing was crazy, that she could price the product at 30 times more than she was pricing it. So all these good things happened because she spent the time to pin down very accurately what the value proposition is. Then what happened after that is each airline she then visited, of course she would trot that out, but then she discovered that those airlines all had different value propositions. So in fact, she's now categorized a whole set of value propositions depending on the airline. Now she knows that business inside and out, and it's very easy to sell at that point when you have a strong value proposition.